Okay, so it's 4:02, calling the meeting to order. So why don't we go around the room and everybody introduce themselves, since we've got two new members. Jackie, why don't you start?
I'm Jackie Brown.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Let's see, we moved here, we're here part-time, in I guess we bought in 2018. And, I used to teach art literacy at my kids' grade school. So, we joined this group and she and I are friends. And so she thought maybe I would enjoy it.
Good job, Libby.
Greg Swedenborg, longtime resident of Cannon Beach for the first third of my life, took off for a third of my life and came back for the hopefully a little more of the last stage of my life. And got involved with the tech committee. It was 5 years I was on it. And kind of had to resign abruptly, but some time went by and was able to get back on. And so this is my first meeting back on. I've got a wife and two kids. We run the Waves Motel in Cannon Beach downtown. And that's about it.
Welcome back.
Thanks.
I'm Libby Gast. I have been a homeowner, for 10 years. And taught art literacy as well with Jackie at our kids K-8, and have just been a lover of the arts and was looking at ways to get involved in the community. And this seemed to be right up my alley with previous grant funding experience and what. So here I am.
Fantastic. I'm Steve Sinclair. I've been on the committee 8 years. This is my last meeting. My wife and I moved here in 2012. We own the Wine Shack here in town, so.
I'm Tom Allison. Appreciate how enthusiastic you are about this being your last meeting.
Well, you want me to go, yay, it's my last meeting. I tried to play it low key.
Very good, yeah. So we bought a house in 2016, and then I moved down here permanently about 2 years ago. Decided to join this because really my experience with the arts has been on boards. I lived in Bellevue, Washington before this, and was on the board of the Bellevue Philharmonic Orchestra and the Bellevue Arts Museum, and helped raise money to build a new museum too. So that's pretty much what my experience is with the arts.
Great.
Right. And Julia, you're not on
it till May 1st
voted.
because I turned out.
Right, but May.
I reapplied. And I own Center Diamond right over there, and I was on on this committee for 8 years, and then I turned out, and so I'm coming back on now.
Fantastic.
Andrea?
Right.
Hi. Sorry, did someone say my name? I think I need to update my Zoom, so I can't for some reason show you what I look like, but I work in the arts. I'm an artist and I run a gallery here in town.
All right. Well, thank you.
Which gallery?
Shearwater.
Gotcha.
And she has a cute dog.
Okay, so looking at the agenda, the first item on the agenda is chair and vice chair. Are there any nominees for chair?
Not all at once.
I nominate Libby to be chair because you've been the vice chair for a year.
No, for a
6
few
months,
It's like a year.
approximate, longer than anybody else.
True.
So
I kid, but
I nominate you
Thank you.
for chair. Anybody else nominated for the chair position? If not, is there a second for Libby as chair?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Libby, I'll give you a second opportunity to back out if you don't want to be chair.
I am happy to be chair.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second, all to approve Libby as chair. Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Drea. Opposed? All right. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I will turn this over to you now.
Oh, man, this is the most nerve-wracking part of it. So now we need nominees for a vice chair. Do we have any nominees?
I nominate Greg Swedenberg as vice chair.
I'll second that nomination.
Won't back out.
Okay. Any other nominees?
All those in favor of Craig for vice chair, say aye.
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 I,
Any nays? Okay,
You guys are gonna do a great job together.
Yeah. it'll be fun.
okay, got that handle. We move on to approval of the minutes from our October 23rd meeting. Hopefully everyone had a chance to go over those. You had any corrections? Now's the time to let us know. Good to me.
I didn't have any edits.
Someone want to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of October 23rd, 2023.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Those approving the minutes for the October 23rd meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Great. Okay, agenda item number 3 is viewing the 24th, 25th cycle application packets and to schedule further meetings. So that next sheet here is kind of the template, the calendar of meetings that we typically have. Although in some years, I'm trying to think now, the last 2 years, have we done only one day of interviews, or was that just last year?
I think the last 2 years, we were able to get them all in one day, but not knowing how many people will apply.
Yeah.
Scheduled for 2.
Okay.
And if we have enough just to do one, I'll just make everyone go in one day,
Okay,
not make them, but
okay. So,
I think the big thing is selecting some dates.
some dates, okay,
So we need to, starting with March, the midterms came in, so we need to schedule a meeting to discuss midterms. But I don't think that needs to actually be in March, but that's typically when it has been. We could do it in April if that works better, but I know we're getting into spring break and everyone's getting busy. And then we'll need to look at dates for interviews and TAC meetings in June. And then the final eval meeting in August, and then sometimes we schedule another fall meeting. And obviously, we can meet again with other items. This is just your standard meeting time.
What happened to the meeting with council?
So that is actually scheduled for
18th,
April 9th.
April 9th?
April 9th, yeah.
I think you told that to me. I better make sure that it's.
And the April 9th meeting, I'm not gonna lie, is getting very full. So
May get pushed again.
I don't know that it'll get pushed because I know that they're very excited to meet with you guys. It's just gonna be a longer meeting, so we'll try to,
do you know where we'll fall in the docket?
not yet.
Okay,
So we're working on the agenda for the April 2nd meeting now. And so next week is when we'll start really laying out more things for the 9th. But as soon as I know, I'll let you guys know.
okay,
And Julie, when does your term start? May 1st?
May 1.
Okay.
I'll come to this meeting, obviously. What time is that? 5?
The meeting starts at 6.
Thank you.
so in regards to the midterm reviews. Those don't necessarily have to be done. Okay, they don't have to be done before the packets are available. So we kind of have the first April.
Yeah, and it's up to you guys, but if you wanted to add that with maybe one of your other June meetings, we can do that as well.
As well.
This is just for your guys' information.
Okay.
You guys discuss it. I don't know, has there ever been any action items after midterm reviews, or it's just discussion, right?
Yeah, doesn't seem like, I mean, that's where I was like, okay, do we piggyback and do early on the 9th, or do we push it to June? I don't know. That's just thoughts.
And I can,
How many? There are a couple that won't have their, aren't there some that are delayed for their midterms?
everybody should do midterms no matter where they're
Okay.
at in their project.
Okay.
I do think that there's a couple that haven't turned in that I need to follow up with. I think the chamber was one that didn't send theirs in. So I'll follow up with anyone who hasn't submitted. I could always give you guys packets of midterms to read at your convenience, and then we can discuss it later. I don't have to wait till the week before the meeting to give
Okay.
it to you. So I can always make everyone a packet. We can talk about it in June.
Okay. People good with that and just piggybacking on a June meeting?
Thanks to me.
Okay. Looking at those June timeframes. Were there weeks that were better for others?
Like the first two would work better if you guys are out of town.
Yes.
Yeah, that was, when I went to go do the schedule, I didn't realize how horribly placed our vacations. Like from a council perspective, it was the third week, so we're like, this is great. And then
Yeah.
I went to go do your guys' schedule and I'm like, wow.
Wow, yeah.
That's, right smack in the middle. If the week of the 14th is the only one that works for you guys, we can get some, or the week of, it would actually be the 17th. If that was the only week that works, we can see about getting someone else to cover.
Okay.
When does the farmer's market? Oh, it doesn't matter. You won't be here. Never mind.
Yeah, I mean, but for parking around here, Tuesdays are bad.
These are bad, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the point.
I think it starts June 18th.
Okay, so we could do that Tuesday, the 11th.
Let me see. The council chambers is available on the 11th. So with that would be for interviews, correct?
Yeah, this is
Does that
interview.
give you guys enough time to
Oh.
get your packet on the 10th?
Oh,
That's-
That is why I was somehow leaning towards the
and then maybe
25th, 26th, and that's why, because I was thinking, oh, we won't get the packets until the 10th.
I mean, we can do it if you wanted to on the 13th.
yeah, I'd rather do the 13th.
13th?
Yeah. I
Okay,
mean, at least you have 3 days to read everything.
yeah,
Right.
I think. So that's.
Because the further you get in the month, the busier it gets.
Yeah,
And maybe what we do is just plan on doing everything on one day and we can just make it work.
that,
Even if we did a good amount, which we've been pretty consistent on the numbers we've had,
yeah,
but we can make it work. We can make it.
yeah.
How many do you
And-
typically get?
Let's see, it's less than we used to get.
Wait, what did we have, like 8 last year, something like that?
8 to 10.
Yeah,
So I had 11, but out of those 11, you're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different entities submitted 11 applications.
Okay.
So you.
The
really-
chamber usually does 3 or 4, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
and it wasn't anyone new,
nobody knew.
so yeah, I think we should be able to hammer it out.
Okay, so we are gonna go ahead and take June 13th. And then we normally do it from 1 to 4. We want to stick with 1 to 4, possibly 5 if we have extra.
Yeah,
Okay, so we'll say 1 to 5 just to give us enough time. And let me reserve that room before anyone tries to snag it from me. Right, so then the next meeting would be when you guys want to review your applications and prepare your recommendations. That has to happen before July 2nd, because that's the deadline for my packets.
So that would be the last week of June, probably,
Yeah.
not on Tuesday. I'm open any day except for Tuesday.
Does that 24th work
Monday the 24th.
or no?
The Monday is actually not available.
Oh, okay.
The list should say.
Oh, I see.
25,
25, 26, 27.
Rick has the room booked that day. But we have it reserved for TAC on all of those days. So if you want the 26th or 27th, we could definitely do it.
How about the 26th? When do we have to go to the council?
Well, you're gonna go, we moved. Did we move, you guys up a month? No, we didn't. That was Parks, sorry. It'll go to the July work session,
Which is the 9th?
the 9th.
Okay,
So
gotcha.
my packet goes out a week early.
Okay,
So do we want to go with Wednesday, the 26th?
that looks good to me.
And what time do you guys want to start? So this one meeting, you're gonna discuss your amounts. We're also gonna discuss midterms. So you're gonna want a couple hours potentially,
Mhm.
especially with all the new people, and I'll make sure this works for Ashley. She'll want to attend that one.
And she's the attorney?
Yes,
Okay.
sorry.
If we could do later in the day, that would be better for me.
Like 2 to 4.
Yeah.
And I think Drea, later works better for you too, correct?
Yeah, even later than that works better for me just because I'm open. I have to close to do any of this.
Do you want to do 3 to
3 to
5?
5?
That would work.
Okay.
Okay, 3 to 5 and the 26th. And since we're going on this, do you guys want to schedule a meeting in August when we do the final evals? And meet to discuss other things? Or do you guys want to wait until the June meeting to select that August date?
What do you guys think?
Do we risk running out of times for the room is available or?
I mean, it's always better to do it earlier. We're definitely having more meetings now than ever, and so if we get it.
Oh,
Council.
I think it's Nancy coming in.
I thought everyone would go to the front door. So
You guys should be.
we could always schedule a date in August, and then if something happens and we can't make it, we can discuss it in June and rearrange it.
I think that's really smart.
In August, farmers market's ending early, but I think they're still on in August. I think it was ending earlier.
Mid-August.
Is it mid-August?
Yeah.
Okay,
Really? Not going into September?
Maybe it's the first week of September.
it's,
Maybe that's what it is.
it's
It's a couple weeks shorter than it was.
because we're not sure what's gonna happen with the building and everything, so they shortened it up a little.
It's through the holiday, so that would be the first weekend of September. I think it is. Yeah, I think it's 2 weeks shorter. So my bad.
And if we can bump it into September also. That's just typically when you guys do it. So if you want to wait until the week after Labor Day.
September is getting busy for me.
What gets busy for you, Tom?
It's September.
September's getting busy.
I am gone for at least 2 weeks in September.
Okay,
September could get interesting with rooms too, because I have no idea if we're even gonna still be here.
that's true. Yeah, everything with the building is so far up in the air right now. We're not really sure.
We'll know probably next month or two.
Why don't we shoot for the last week in August? That tends to be a slow week just because a lot of kids are back in school already
Yeah.
and for the holiday, like the 26th, maybe? avoiding Tuesday again because of farmer's market.
And the council papers are open.
I like that week.
Yeah, I like, that works.
I'm gone that week, but I'll just be gone. I don't know if I'll be able to zoom in or not. I'm gonna be very far away.
Lucky out.
Yeah.
So it's up to you guys.
Oh, that's final evals, right?
Yeah. It's
Okay.
the final eval. So it's not, and discuss, the guidelines, goals, suggestions, concerns, just kind of a recap from that cycle. So it's not that it has to happen right then, but you guys, your choice. I do think that after you guys meet with council, you're gonna hear, you guys collaboratively, I'm sure you guys are gonna come up with a lot of ideas. And so there may be some other meetings we end up having to discuss those ideas more, and maybe it'll happen at the end of the cycle, preparing for the following years. I'm not really sure, but I'm hoping, there's a lot of stuff you guys have talked about over the years to accomplish, and you guys are geared up to potentially do a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it probably won't impact this cycle.
No, I think it's too late for this
Right.
cycle.
Right.
But it's all for next year. So once this cycle ends, you guys can start prepping for the next one.
Now, August.
August or September, it's up to you guys. Jackie, you can always, if the week of the 26th works best for everyone, you can always share an email with your thoughts before
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah,
What time on the 26th?
I'm flexible.
You guys want to go 3 to 5 again?
Works for me.
Can do that.
Okay, 8/26, 3 to 5 p.m. And then I'll update the schedule and send it out to you guys. So you have it. Right, room is booked. You guys are
Okay.
official.
Woo-hoo. Okay, so on to the packet. Jennifer and I met one afternoon and then she went ahead and kind of compiled a template kind of based off of the stuff from Tillamook County and Seaside and all those ones that we kind of perused through there. So I guess the question is if you've looked at it, are there, I mean, pretty much we slotted our verbiage from our packet before, but tried to make it a little more user friendly, a little more highlighted. There wasn't it was gonna be templated online, but not do we think that's feasible or not?
Not for this cycle.
Not for this cycle. Okay,
It just kind of ran out of time and
okay,
this, so what we did is we just took the existing information and just tried to change the format. One of the templates you guys liked at the last meeting, I wasn't able to get from Barney.
okay.
The person who has those templates no longer works for the company.
Oh, geez.
She's like, I'd love to send it to you, but I can't. So I played with Canva one day just to see what I could make it look like, but I've never done it before. So we have two options. We stick with the regular one or we can try out the new one. I was playing around with Google Forms and some other ways to do fillable documents. This one I think is kind of cool. The evaluation I played with Word. I was avoiding doing minutes, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. So I played with forms and I was able to take the evaluation and where I can do where it says choose an item, there's a drop down menu to pick your fiscal year. And then all of these where it says click here to enter text, it will grow. Like it doesn't just give you the box, it'll write as long as you need to write.
Okay,
And then it just moves everything down. So it's a very interactive one to make it easier for everyone. And so I was looking to see what else I can do with Canva and to make other documents do that as well.
gotcha. Okay. That. Ideally, in my mind, next year we would have an online template and at least, and I think having a kind of bare bones budgetary kind of framework too, so that we can kind of compare one event to another kind of seamlessly, and if they need to put in additional information slots for specific things, that I think is being a rookie that came on and was looking at all these spreadsheets and squinting, and someone here called it this over here and this over there, and you know, someone's like, but calls out is this the same as this?
Right.
You know, if we come up with general terminology and they can tweak it, I think that's kind of easier for us to. And the template may change if we're doing more infrastructure funding and things like that too. So,
Well, consistency along the format allows you to compare.
Yeah.
Without having to decipher what their terminology is
yeah,
with each organization and each event, right? So we're able to look at budget a lot faster and grasp it a lot faster because they're using the same format and terminology.
yeah. And I think not making guesses or assumptions is a good thing to kind of be like, okay. Even playing field. No, I like the brighter colors. I think it's a little more, inviting, a little more friendly. I know we talked about, on this one that the event metrics stuff, and I guess that's bigger discussion with the chambers, but Tom, we used to have, total attendees and heads and beds and all that kind of stuff. And the grand question is that type of quantifier changing? Is the model changing as we move
The
forward?
emphasis,
Yeah.
the emphasis is not there as much.
Yeah. As our shoulder season has.
Disappeared?
Yeah, I was gonna say, 5 days? No. No. Did anyone have any comments or?
I have a question about the new format. Jennifer, does the new format have all the? Is it basically just this reformatted and we haven't lost anything?
No,
Okay,
I think I added one extra paragraph on the front page just because I liked how it sounded. But everything that's on the old one is on the new one with the exception of the matrix. But it's definitely a lot bigger because I just spread it out, trying to make it look a little bit nicer, make it look easier to read. So it looks less texty,
yeah,
but we can still just roll with the old version and play with this some more. It's what we're used to seeing.
I think we've done a nice job.
Yeah.
Yes. It looks a lot more user friendly.
And then the end, we always have, a copy of the ORS, the guidelines, a copy of the application, so everyone can see all of that. I was working on reading through like Seaside does this online to try to see if I could get it online this year, and I got like partially through it and I'm like, okay, this is a little too much.
Yeah.
But definitely next year.
Next year, which,
I'm very
okay,
excited to see what we can put together for next year.
yeah. That's great.
I think it's a work in progress, right? Just like the other application was a work in progress. We had new questions, we reworded stuff, we pulled stuff. I think this is just a work in progress.
Yeah.
And after the council may say that they're interested in getting other information that we haven't.
Sure.
We might want to add other questions.
Mhm.
I mean, it wouldn't be for this year, but.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. At
No,
least we got a
that's good.
good little thing. So no corrections on that. Drea, did you see anything on that?
I just think it looks a lot nicer. It's much easier to read. I think it's headed in a really good direction in that regard.
Great. Any other comments? Oh, go
I
ahead.
have a question. Somewhat related, but not specifically to TAC, is there any city overall? Kind of what's being done here to modernize forms and
Oh.
online applications? Is that going?
we all want to do it, and everybody's forms definitely need to be upgraded. We even have some forms that are using an old logo. So that is definitely something that's on every department's list of things to do. I don't know when it'll get done.
But it's not like a formal centralized project to
No,
get it up to date.
no. It's something we all need to get going. We've talked about how, once you do a form, nobody reviews it. Like every other year or every year, review your forms, make sure it's what you need. There's definitely a lot of stuff we can do. I think once we get, and TAP might even end up being the guinea pig, because once we get a good system in place, it might be easier to roll out to everybody else if we could just say to everyone, okay, this is what you need to do. This is what you do.
And that's kind of why I'm asking, like,
Yeah.
meanwhile, over in planning, they've already got one of the, 90% done that's all modern and like, I don't know, I'm just wondering if
Yeah, no,
it's not happening.
not,
We're the first.
you guys are. We definitely have the prettiest application right now.
Oh,
We will get there. I think it's great knowing that Seaside does theirs online, because I can call them up and get more
Yeah.
information and see, because he was explaining how they did it in Google Forms, and I just need to dedicate a little bit more time, and definitely, so much stuff we can do now, and
Yeah.
finance is really pushing the online forms. They're
Yeah.
very much want to see a lot more items online, because they do like applications for water service, a lot of other things. Taxes, they're like, it'd be great if we could just have people log into a system and pay. So I know that they're very much in the forefront of it. Nothing's happened, but it's definitely on their mind.
Well, I also just think about streamlining. I mean, you get someone coming in on the 11th hour with their packet and then, scanning all that, copying, whatever,
Getting people to submit things electronically has worked very well. Everyone seems to like that. We requested them, if you submit it electronically, it needs to be in one PDF. Because I get a lot of one Word document, one Excel document.
Yeah.
When the fields aren't set up, and people have done great with it. They
Okay.
enjoy doing it just real quick. They can scan it, send it. That's worked real well.
Good.
So that's like the first baby step.
Yeah.
And then we'll
Great.
now go to the next one.
Okay. Okay, well, I think unless there are other comments, we'll move on to item 4, which is the discussion of the joint meeting, just kind of the city council on the 9th and whether I know some of the conversation that we'll probably have is what is our job? Does our job change, or do the types of projects that we're granting change, shift to infrastructure and whatnot. I lost my train of thought, but I guess, just trying to throw it out there and open if anyone has any comments that they think that need to be made, or what their thoughts are, so that we're kind of.
Do we know
Same page.
exactly, because I don't, but do we know what they are expecting as far as, or what suggestions they're leaning towards, or?
It's an open discussion.
Okay.
There was kind of finding this, a while ago. It's basically just to start the discussion. TAC and council haven't had a meeting together in a
Years.
long time. And the council, we have some new council, they just completed their first year.
Mhm.
And some of the questions that have come up, one of the big ones with Councilor Kerr is every year, the chamber gets grants. They get tourism and arts grants, but yet they're funded through the tourism, the TLT funds. And so she's like, well, how come that happens? Well, there's nothing that says they can't. There's no rule in place that says if you're funded in another source, you're not eligible for an application. So that I know is Lisa's big thing. And a lot of it's just, they want to talk with you guys. They want you to talk with them and just open up the dialogue. And you guys are in such a unique position that with money, you guys have never had the amount of money sitting in an account that you do now. Because in the past, you guys were trying to not spend all your money to build up a reserve, and, there's definitely a reserve built now.
Yeah, so I would expect that they're looking at broadening the scope of what we do grants for, kind of making decisions of clarifying the chamber type stuff. Other than that, I don't have any other
We're not walking into some big, like, they're gonna.
Who knows?
We don't need- Oh, no. We haven't had a meeting like this, right? So,
When we initially had the conversation, they said, you know, they wanted to discuss the process, the rules, the regulations, but I think a lot of it goes back to Lisa's question, like, why
Yeah.
can you allow this? Well, there's nothing that says you can't.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
know, we can go over
well, the city sets the rules, right?
right? Yeah.
The city,
Serve at the pleasure of council.
right, the city sets the rules of how money is distributed or who can apply. So if they want to change that, they can change that.
Mhm.
But I think they want to hear your thoughts before changing it, which is great.
Mhm.
Yeah.
My concern, which is why I wanted to be back on here, is that the other rumbling was, oh, let's have a third committee or fourth committee or however many committees we're up to now. And those will be dealing with development of the city. And it's like, well, why can't this committee do that? In fact, we brought up many times other things aside from events
Right, infrastructure.
to develop, yeah, the bandstand and the bathrooms and I think we had several ideas. And I can't remember. Bruce seemed to be not for us doing that and seemed like, well, what's the mechanism by which, because we're passive and people come to us and say, we want money, and then we decide if we want to give them money. So are we allowed to, and I think that's what we did in that meeting, was to stand up and say, well, are we allowed to say, like, the bandstand needs more power?
Right.
And doesn't that fall under our purview, and can we do that? And then the same with the bathrooms. So I'm not really sure. Like you said, if they decide to make this committee very small and, well, we're just doing events, then I'd like to know that, because I'd rather be on the other committee, but I don't see how they're gonna staff two committees when this one isn't even fully staffed yet.
And I've never heard them talk about doing another committee.
Gary Hayes did.
Gary did?
Yep.
Then it must have been very briefly, because that's not anything that's on the radar. Like, that's not, nobody's said, let's form, you know, like, nobody's started forming a committee. You know, there's definitely.
It was the day that they were talking about how much money this committee had, and it's like, oh, maybe we need to break it into two and have another committee that's just about the development part, and it's like,
It never went past that conversation.
I hope not.
There is, one of the things that comes up a lot is I hear people say like, well, if you want to use money on the bandstand, how do you apply because of the application process? Well, that doesn't mean that you guys can't have a separate process for other items and still be through this committee.
Like a rolling calendar of approvals.
Well, instead of going through the TAP
Oh,
funds.
yeah.
Which it requires a nonprofit, there's still funds that's just the grant process. You know, you could go to council and say, we got the grant process, but we would also like to fund these items, not through the grant.
Outside of the
process.
ground.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean,
That was a hard part for us, because we were like, are we allowed to do this? We don't know.
I mean, but you guys can ask anything, which is the great part. And right now with this new council, this is a great time because you guys have a lot of great ideas. It's a different council. You know, the bathrooms were such a great idea, you know, that's very, very doable. It matches the ORS requirements. The money's there. You can make a recommendation to council that says, in addition to these, I want to, you know, fund this.
It's just too bad a year's gone by already. And the bathrooms still aren't done.
Well, they are, the bid's opening for next week, so those actually went out to bid, and the bid opens in next week. And then that will determine if how much money is for the budget.
What is the bathroom idea? So.
The
Bathrooms here at Midtown.
restrooms.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so council last year, the budget committee.
Is it an expansion or remodeling or?
It's remodeling, because you can't really expand. They tried to go up, but they weren't able to go up.
Because of ADA.
No, because you could have ADA below, but it was the actual building structure itself, right?
I think so. They are doing they're putting more toilets in though,
Yeah, it is expanding it, but
Yeah.
Not by much.
not by much.
not by much,
Okay,
probably more efficient.
Karen will be able to look at this and say, okay, you guys had previously budgeted, you know, $500,000, the bids came in at $800,000. You know, she's very much thinking, I'm gonna ask TAC,
Good for her.
you know,
Yeah.
it's definitely something on the radar to do.
well, what's in the reserve right now for this committee?
For this committee, I don't,
Ballpark.
1 million plus. I know that there's over 1 million.
Oh, it's at 1.3.
Yeah,
A lot.
what I had.
There's a good amount. Cause Lori always budgeted about, I think, what is it, like 350, 360,000 is what you guys usually
Yeah.
have. And she budgets that knowing what you guys, what has been coming in, but the collection has been way higher than that. And I do want to say, I think everyone is on the same page as far as you guys doing other items other than events,
Sure.
you know?
I hope so.
Good, yeah.
Just from a historical perspective, and we started that 2018 with the Calucci Creek funding,
Yeah.
which was kind of a non-event thing, and then the bandstand, which obviously got
But
funded by the.
somebody asking for it. It wasn't us coming up and saying, hey, why don't we do this? They actually came and asked.
Yeah, yeah, it was outside of the normal event
Yes, for sure.
type thing.
But it also didn't get approved the first time, right?
Took 2 years.
Because it was a new concept of non-event,
And wasn't fully arts focused and
Right.
all that.
right?
And you know, you could argue that a lot of the things the chamber has done too that are projects aren't events either, like the video.
Right.
That's true.
And stuff.
Yeah.
So there are a handful of those things
Right.
over time. And, you know, in my application to get back on it, I was very vocal about kind of what you said is, you know, I'd be more interested in a committee that has a broader approach than
Mhm.
just the same 12, not always the same, but the
Right.
same 12 events every year.
Right.
And, you know, really looking at what things are out there that this money is qualified to be spent for, and that isn't necessarily what is within the scope that was created in 13, 14 years ago.
Yeah.
Because the city has changed, funding has changed, everything, you know, things have changed over a decade and a half.
And I don't see why it can't be this committee.
Yeah.
Just, to me, it makes sense. And if they don't think that, well, we were previously recruiting for this, but now we want this, then it's like, okay, fire everybody and have everybody respond again or whatever. If you really think that we don't have that focus, I don't know what to call it. I mean, I don't know, it seems like a good group of people to me to come up with ideas.
Grant approval in my eyes. I mean, I think you said.
I think the question was though, that, so the mechanism by which, so when we sat down and the first time we had an idea that was not,
Yeah,
nobody came to ask us for money, it's like, I don't know, are we allowed?
yeah, yeah.
Nobody's coming to ask us, but we think this is a good idea. Are we allowed to say, we think this is a good idea and give it to council?
Yeah.
So,
So one of
Yeah.
the things Ashley had brought up before is, you know, reading through our guide, well, two different things. The powers and duties that we have listed in our code spells out what you guys are allowed to do. You can propose to council, we want to do more, we want to do this, because you can make a recommendation, you know, you guys are a committee, but we should talk about changing what your powers and duties are. And expand it to other items. So if council says, yeah, I think that's a great idea, then we would work on changing and doing an ordinance to expand what your purview is. In the meantime, you definitely can always make recommendations, you know, for other fundings. And then the guidelines of the grants, that was one of the things she mentioned about seeing if any of those need to be changed to be
Mhm.
more in line with what it is you guys want to fund. And I mean, as long as it's in line with the ORS.
Okay.
But your powers and duties are pretty specific about the Tourism and Arts Fund. But, well, which is what your money is anyways,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That particular 70%.
that 70%, yeah.
And I think it'll be interesting over time, this is just my opinion,
Yeah.
that as things like the elementary school project come on board and there's needs for other funds and there's 3 or 4 different restricted fund revenues through through lodging tax dollars, you know, how those are overseen. And it just seems like a committee that's in place to oversee those already. Maybe be overseeing the other, you know, streams of that to some extent. And in some that are already called for, like the chamber one is from the 2015 increase. And whenever their contract comes up to do the marketing for the city of Cannon Beach, you know, it seems like the council's changed every time, which is why you have those exact questions that Lisa's asking about, because those have been asked and answered in the last, you know, council, and rightfully so. I mean, you know, so if there's a committee that's kind of always overseeing those things, then that can be beneficial to the council to say, hey, we're on top of this all the time, the way the funding's coming. And, you know, this is a good use of funds or not. And ultimately the council makes the decision, but it's just the way I kind of see it.
I wonder if it'll make more sense once the school's done. that they might be more amenable to that because, I mean, because we've talked about that before too. And people seem to push back on that every single time and I just don't get it. I mean, I don't understand.
There's so many variables in that right now and
Yeah.
what's gonna happen, but at some point in time, like. The city will be cutting a check to some entity to run the thing
Right?
or to take care of it or to do whatever. And so if a committee, whether it be TAC or. I personally would not support like creating a new.
Yeah.
Committee to oversee that when there's another one already in place, but. To be able to say, oh, this chunk of municipal funding is going towards that, Can it all be kind of go through the same process that is TAC or modified?
Right.
So what I'm hearing is that there's an appetite amongst this committee to do projects beyond grant approvals. And some of those projects may fall under the current charter for this committee. Some of them may not, which would require, having that ordinance redone. And if I'm hearing that right, then I guess my question becomes, what's the best way to present that to council so that it's attractive to them and it's clear to them exactly what we're asking for?
I think that may,
Yeah, I think that this committee needs to know what city council is thinking. Right? What are they interested in? When they get a better understanding of this committee, what is their thoughts on how to align this committee with what other projects they'd like to do? Does it fall into the purview of this committee or do they see that it's outside of the purview of this committee? But I think it'll be interesting to hear what their thoughts on this are. And I mean, this group will have the collective expertise to address those and to kind of answer their concerns, whatever they may be, in a manner to show them the value that this committee can not manage, but fund other things than just events. For your knowledge and you as well, this committee, I don't know what year it was with the bandstand, that we were going through funding
Pre-COVID,
and we were done basically, and we're talking about, well, we should also,
he left.
we have money left. We really need to do other things like boost the power in the bandstand so we could have real bands with electrical equipment and lights play there instead of acoustic bands. And we made a recommendation to Bruce for, I don't know, whatever it was, and he took that and then he actually went to, was it Parks?
Parks, yeah, he punted it over to.
He
Parks.
funded it through another way, but that kind of opened, I think, everybody's eyes to, we can do other things. We can fund other things. It doesn't have to necessarily be an ask from a nonprofit and a local organization. This committee can do other things. And it kind of opened a door to new possibilities rather than just 12 events.
I can't remember who said it, but one of you guys did a couple of years ago about improving the product.
Huh?
And I just love that
Mhm.
saying of, the purpose is to bring tourism here, but you guys have the tourism here, so you want to improve the product that tourism is
Yeah.
gonna see.
Yeah.
And also benefits everybody who lives here as well. which is
Right.
nice. I think the challenge with what you just said, Tom, is, and you tell me if you think I'm wrong, when we got pushback, when we asked about, well, why aren't we overseeing, like, you separated all these pots? Doesn't it kind of make sense? It's like, if this committee is looking at all those pots, and the pushback I heard at the time with regard to the school was, we're building the school. You guys have no expertise in building, so leave us alone.
kind of how I remember it.
Fine with me, because I don't know anything about building, and that's fine, and I assume they'll get it to the building spot, but at the time, I wouldn't push to do that right now because of what I heard, and plus, yeah, I don't want to have anything to do with that. But once the thing is done, it's a tourism facility, we already know that. Why doesn't it make sense to have whatever Bruce is gonna do to have it managed? There's gonna have to be somebody, and at least two people managing that thing, that they can ask for money from this committee or a overall committee that has the pots underneath it. They all have to be under Oregon state law, it's all the 70% money. But I don't think it's time to pitch it right now because I don't want to have anything to do with building.
Yeah.
And we're not managing it. We're just saying, how about this? What do you think about that?
Well, and I go back to, when Gary asked you questions when you put your application back in, and I think part of it is like, yes, we are amenable to taking on outside of just event grant, them getting our pulse as being like, we're up for it, I think it's gonna be a lot of bouncing back and forth. So I think that's part of it is, yes, we see this committee expanding in ways that we haven't done before. Yes, we're on board for that. And getting feedback from them, because again, do they not see us capable of expanding?
Yeah, I don't.
I think,
It makes sense to listen to what
Yes.
their thoughts are
yeah,
and what their ideas for this committee are.
yeah. Yeah.
So one of the things on the night of the 9th, so with the funding of the school. So the school, basically, we couldn't have a nonprofit manage it, kind of like the way the advisory committee wanted it to see it done. And so
Oh.
council did discuss forming a NACUS committee that would be an oversight like the farmer's market. So that's one of the topics that is up for discussion on April 9th also.
Oh,
So that's a good
Okay.
time to talk about it if you guys want, just in general, But that is one of the things they're talking about. And initially, the research committee said we want to have a nonprofit that manages it. They can get grants, they can do a lot of stuff. Well, by doing it that way, you lose your tax
Exemption.
exemption on the bond. And so they had to take it back and say, okay, we need to bring this back in-house. We can later on look at forming a nonprofit per the committee's recommendations. But right now, we need to do it this way. And so one of the things they talked about was to do an oversight committee, just like the farmer's market, for now.
Mhm.
And so that is one of the topics that
gotcha.
the plan is to talk about it on the 9th. I don't know, that might get pushed back a little bit just because of the size of the agenda, but that is something that, in ordinance, they do a work session, they have to go back and nothing goes quick on that, but that is one of the things they're looking at, just so you guys know.
I'm going to share a quick story with you that's better for the council, but just kind of aware of it. So I was on the board of the Bellevue Arts Museum when they built the new museum up there. And the board was very excited about the building. And everything was about the architecture and about the building. And the assumption was that the community was going to be as excited about the building as well. And it is a very interesting building, I will admit. And I remember I kept asking all the time, okay, but what's going to happen inside the building? And they, we're going to have this great building. And when they first opened it, they thought everybody's going to want to come to see the building. And all the critics and the press and everything, the question was, where's the art? It's a great building, but where's the art? Oh, yeah. I can almost see that happening with the reconstruction over here of the school. Is, okay, so we've built this thing. What's going to happen inside of it?
Right.
And so, and you need people who are excited about the building. I mean, that's important. You got to get the building right. But parallel to that, you should have people that are asking, what's going to happen inside the building? And working on that. And I can see where this committee could potentially be that,
And the
if we
NACUS,
want to take that on.
the NACUS Research Committee, or the Cannon Beach Elementary Research Committee, did come up with a great presentation. And I can email it out, where they did a lot of research on what other similar facilities had in it. They looked at the schedule, like the schedule of events in town, to see where they wouldn't want to have events because they don't want to compete with the already crowded town, and the different ideas that they could happen there. So they have a lot of information. I can send it out to you guys of what could happen, educational and art there. It was amazing. Some of the, but the ideas are endless.
I would love to see
Rambling,
that.
Sorry, but I will email you guys out the research committee information.
See that?
And then just so you know, because I know we need to wrap up soon, research committee. On the packet for the 9th, my intent is for your guys' topic about the joint meeting, I'm gonna put the application, the guidelines, all of the stuff that we use to make your guys' decisions. I'll put a copy of the code that has your powers and duties in it. We're gonna just give them everything, all the information. And then probably share some links with past application packets, so if they wanna go and look at it. So we're gonna give them basically, here's what TAC does, here's the guidelines that are currently in place. Then we'll see where it goes.
Any other questions? No? Okay, well. I think we'll listen, get some good feedback and start a course. That, but unless there's anything else, I think we will adjourn. We good?
All right.